Okay, hi you guys. I am kind of down low today because I wanted you guys to be able to look down on the yarn while we talk about it. My topic for today is about my most frequently asked question, which is when you're shopping online, um, people ask, they need information about what yarn colors online go with each other, so that when they buy something, that they know that the multiple skeins actually integrate with each other. So for this particular episode, I thought I would just start with something simple. I have been talking about color theory and a lot of other different ways where you can work from one website to another website, or even within, like for example, my website, even within my website, looking at different pictures that aren't necessarily next to each other, or yarns that are not necessarily in the same photo. Um, but I haven't just pulled out yarn, I have not yet just pulled out yarn that's actually on my web and said, hey, I think these things go together. Which is something that all my customers do naturally when they're in person. So I took two yarn bases that I've been talking about a lot recently, the Glass Isle yarn base and the Pendragon yarn base. And even though you wouldn't necessarily knit these like this, I thought I would show you how and why I thought these different colors went together, and I'm going to rearrange them. The easiest one, let me start with the Glass Isle because that's where I left off last week. Let's talk about this yarn for a second. I'm gonna let you know about the label information first. So Glass Isle, these are like 3.5 ounce skeins. They're almost 4, not really, but 200 yards, and it's cultivated silk and merino in one strand. It's a single ply. I really like it. It's really, look, even though it's got the merino in it, look how drapey it is. Woo! It's got some of the best qualities of both silk and merino in one yarn. And the fact that it has this single ply allows me a nice big space to convey interesting color work. But I got out these two little batches, not necessarily that you would knit them like this, but I wanted to be able to show you that absolutely positively, if you wanted to put these two together, you could see that even though they're not photographed together on my website, I wanted to be able to show you in person that they were integrated. By the same token, I should probably tell you the names. This one was called Princess in a Tutu, for obvious reasons. And this one is called The Heart and the Harp. A little poetic name. Okay, so then the other way you could go, if you didn't want to go really light, was to bring in a little more sort of fall color imagination by going this way. And absolutely you can see that this color is in this multicolored yarn. So there you go. So that's one possible combination where you take a multicolored yarn and match it up with a semi-solid. This one, very different. I'm not sure that you might make the choice. I had to show this green because this is the one, this particular green, if you zoom in, here we go, was on my Instagram post today, so that since I always get people who are interested in, who come to me from Instagram, I thought, oh, I better show them that. But the same way we were talking about these yarns like a semi and a multi, I wanted to be able to show you that this Stone and Sky light blue, semi-solid light blue that I make a lot, is actually in this little speckled multicolored yarn that's called Autumn by the Brook. And if you saw these in separate pictures, you might get that, but you might be like, this light blue, there's a variety of blues that are really hard to photograph because green and blue are used by the camera as an anchor point, and so every time you get close to either green or blue, it's very difficult. But this is like a sky, a very pale light blue. It is not a greeny blue, even though there's greeny blue in here. This one is a very pure, just pale blue.
So someone's asking, what is the ratio of silk to merino, and does that change how you wash the yarn?
Okay, so it's pretty close to half and half, and but I don't have a percentage here in front of me. That's a good question about how you wash it. Traditionally, I have been a person, I have to admit it, this is not very eco-friendly of me, but I have not been a person that puts silk in water. I feel like silk, because of its composition, it's constantly always resisting water. Even, I think people even have trouble dyeing it because the fibers don't want to be wet. So, so that's a complication about knitting with silk, because it's something that we just so love to wear, and it lasts forever. Oh my gosh, this is, it's one of those things where it's, what do you call it, oxymoronic or something like that. We consider it so delicate, and it is so delicate when you see it as in its natural state, like it's just from a silkworm. But it's so darn hardy and strong that silk has this intense longevity. It lasts for thousands of years. But I don't get it wet if I can at all help it. So people do hand wash it, and you can hand wash it. If you do, I would use cold. And then I would spot clean it, and I often dry clean my stuff. But I know the whole world is moving away from dry cleaning. So that's not an entirely full answer, but that's an excellent question. So I'm going to have to do more research and bring that back to the fold. And come back and answer you guys about that. Because my way, is not the popular way. I would just dry clean a little bit, or hand wash when you had to, in cold, in a sink, and spot clean. I think that's what I would do. Okay, so this other pile, but I do love knitting with this stuff. God, it's almost buttery in your fingers. Did they make any other? Did they say yes, no, maybe so?
Just lovely colors and like knitting with glass eyes.
Okay, because I just wanted to know if I answered that question.
Yeah.
When I first got these out, I got it out like this. Wait, I'm going to do something to this little pile of yarn. I got it out like this, with these three as a gradient, because, oh my gosh, aren't people doing a lot of gradients these days? And when I made these three, I made sure that some of this dye was actually in this yarn, and some of this dye went back down the ladder into these other colors, so that absolutely I knew for sure that even though that they were a gradient, they could be knit together. And so this is called Eye of the Unicorn. That's a colorway I make often, and I actually have it in other yarn bases behind me. These guys behind me kind of go from thinnest to thickest. I think this is my bulky end, and this is my sport end. And my fingering isn't even in this shot, because I want that to be an enormous collection of yarn. It's getting there. Okay, so this is Eye of the Unicorn. I do make that over and over again. I had that backwards. And then here is Black Falls. That's another one I make over and over again. And then this one is called North Sea. And that's another one I make over and over again. But they do work as a little gradient trio.
Because I'm noticing on the camera, this is slightly more greener than it looks a tiny bit more darker. All of these have a slight more tint of
That's a great
green,
point.
I guess.
Yes, So I'm just to put it
That
in,
one is very close to its actual color on camera. That one
and all of these, I would call them, the reason that they all, like, there was like water themes names in there is because it wasn't a straight up sky blue. They were more watery,
yes, like
aqua, where when I think of the word aqua, everybody calls it blue, but it's a blue that has this tiny, tiny little influence or reflection of green inside the blue. That's how I see the color aqua. So I definitely, yes, I want to point out that all of these are aqua influenced.
like this is probably close to the color robin's egg or something like that.
Yes.
And this one is slightly, yes, but they are very close, but
And
not exact.
And this is like a teal. This is not a
Yes.
navy blue. This is a teal.
Yes, it looks very navy blue on the camera, but
Nuts. See, isn't that crazy?
But
So that's what makes this very experiment so important, to actually come in and tell you that this is. So now I'm going to stick them back in the other order because I wanted to be able to have you see them in pairs instead of like this giant rainbow. I wanted to be able to show you that this fairy folk, which is a speckled yarn, but it has the teal in it. So if this would be a high contrast knit if you wanted to do, but you could do it depending on your pattern, because absolutely this the teal that's in the North Sea, which is like teal mixed with navy, in terms of the color in real life, that's in this yarn. So I wanted to be able to show it as I wanted to be able to show this yarn as part of a gradient set, but also then show it in context with these two. So here's another one, not the super rainbowy direction, but more staying in a homogeneous color grouping. This color in here is inside this speckled version over here, and this one is called Tales from the Wood. Oh, you know what? I've got to tell you guys, this particular yarn, it's going overseas to be knit into something special and appear in a picture somewhere that I will post at a future date. So more of this colorway is on a great adventure across the pond. More to come on that later. Okay, so there we go. So there's that connection. Now moving down the line, you could also go this way. Instead of choosing such a dark contrast, you could lower the level of contrast, and Black Falls is also in this speckled one. And even though it's going to confuse things, I wanted to be able to see it. This is called Spirit of the Leprechaun. Okay, and it's called that because it's a ghosty kind of green.
yes, and on the camera it looks very white, but I can tell you, I'm right here in person, it has that lightish greenish feel to it.
Just this hint of like,
it's not white. But
no, it's not white. It's somewhere, and I guess we should show the tablecloth as actual
that
white.
is very white, and this is.
And this one has this sort of hint. When I made this, it's sort of betwixt and between sage and mint. It's neither sage nor mint as leaving white and headed toward green. But the color that's here, Spirit of the Leprechaun, is in some of the spaces in between the speckles of darker darker blues and turquoises and teals in this one that's called Tales from the Wood.
I would say that's very correct, yes.
Okay, so then I'm going to put this guy back over here, and I'm going to put, I had them this way. I don't know why we had this green. Oh, we had this green because it was connected to a light blue and we were talking about different green-blue combinations. You could match this here again. Yep, it goes either direction. This green, it's a speckled green, And this one is called Grace and Beauty. The green is called Grace and Beauty. And if you were doing a 2-color combo, you could actually use the Black Falls because it's some of the darker speckles. Or you could use the unicorn one, the Eye of the Unicorn one, because it's also in there as some of the lighter speckles. And I guess that's information that's really hard to glean just from looking at pictures on the web, guys. And you know what? I can do this. If this is helpful, I will make it a regular part of my little weekly live streams to show you in person ones where I have done the dye work for them to integrate into pairs, because who doesn't knit a shawl pattern with 2 colors and want some color activity but then also some stitch work activity, so that you want where you're doing your complicated stitches, you want a skein like this, and when you want to let the color do the work for you, you want something like this. So, that's not so bad, but I think I prefer that to that.
Yes.
So going down the line, we got this one out. This is called Spark of Hope. This is also on the web. This was another one that, because there weren't a ton of them, that integrated with this one called Spirit of the Leprechaun, but it was a really cool color, and I worked with it for a while. I wanted you to see that it was actually in some of these others that you wouldn't know unless you were in person. So this Spirit of the Leprechaun appears as this shade right here in Spark of Hope, highly speckled, fancy smanchy yarn, but that would be hard to see on my website unless I put them on camera right next to each other. I don't know if that's the combo that you would be interested in doing. You could do other things entirely, but since that was hard to see on the web, I thought I'd show you in person. And then do you see another direction that you would take that?
Someone's asking, do you have a sweater quantity in the teal color?
Do they mean teal color North Sea, or do they mean teal color Black Falls? Yes, but yes, I do, and I make it all the time. So the answer, if it's North Sea or Black Falls, yes, I do. Actually, here they are. Zoom in on that. And then we could add these back in. So there would be right now, but I also do these custom. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they're 390 yards sport weight. So yep, and so the same. And then if I put them away,
and there's one more of this one over there.
Yeah,
as well.
and then there's one more of this one there too. So that was cool. And then also a couple, now this is not necessarily the combination that I would think most people would do, but again, I wanted to prove the point that I could show you some combinations. So this is Mail and Sword. Oh my gosh, this colorway, I couldn't dye this fast enough for a really long time. So since I've made so much of this color over and over and over again, in all of the weights of my Pendragon yarn, I know it's out there. So I want to show you this particular colorway as it appears in other things. So it appears in Lavender Potpourri. But it's maybe, like if you're going to go purple, I don't know that you want this, but I wanted to demonstrate the point that I could find colors in some of these speckled yarns. I think I might do that combo. Do you like that combo?
Yeah. So the same person is asking, the one that was shown with the green, Grace plus Hope. So
Spark of Hope?
Spark of Hope, probably.
Yes. Okay. Yes. What about this one and this one?
Was there enough for a sweater quantity? And there is.
And so, yes. So this is the Tower of Spark of Hope.
And then there's more. They're a little messy, but they're like,
okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those.
yes. So, yes.
You could do that. You could go in that direction too. Oh, no, Jenny, I hope you didn't let them see that I'm in my bare feet.
Oh, no.
Behind her. We did it in you guys, wait, I just have to show you what I'm doing. I used to be a little art teacher, and so I have a little school chair that I'm down on, because Jenny was like, oh, Mom, just sit on the floor, and I'm like, Jenny, you are young and flexible, and your mother is getting old and brittle. No, I'm not, but I'm just kidding. But anyway, yeah, so but I thought it was so good to be able to zoom down so that we could look at these colors really in depth. I can pull any other combinations if you want to talk about other combinations out. I don't know. We didn't do any pinks, Jenny. Oh, there's that one. That's not bad. That's pretty good, actually, because we were doing everything blue and green. So this one is called Royal Dancer, and that's a fairy folk. And I absolutely think if you wanted to go into a pink direction, you could do that. Jenny and I, before the show, were trying to decide. I don't do a lot of brown, but this is a very soft brown. It even had a little bit of yellow in it, which is unusual for me to do. And I just wanted to pull that out there. I'm going to have to work on, it's got a little bit of gray in it, so that's a strange combo, but
it would work.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool, actually.
And the names for those two?
Oh, the names of this one? So this one is a Fairy Wings. Oh my gosh, this is another one like the Mail-In Sword that I just do. Sometimes I will just make this as fast as I can. I don't know why people like my work in gray, but they do. So that's okay. So all that we've shown you today has been in sport weight, but actually not the silk. The silk is an Aran.
So one question is, what semi-solid would you pair with mothers and daughters? I don't think we have mothers and daughters down here right now. I think it might be upstairs getting either new labels on it or rephotographed or something like that. But it was a very
actually, I was thinking of something like this one, like
that was
the Stone and Sky. But this particular dye is not on this particular yarn right now, but I can make it. Because I do this color all the time. It's a couple of different dyes, but I just do it all the time. That was one of the things I did on purpose today, was to show you guys some colors that I make over and over again in the semi-solids, because I knew I could reproduce that. These are really hard to reproduce accurately, like in terms of how much speckling. Like if let's say, just for the sake of argument, let's say if I were going to try and recreate this yarn, it's such a small amount, like if I got too much of that dark speckle, it would change the entire characteristic of the yarn. It would, you would not see this as a aqua-based yarn. You would see it as a navy-based yarn by only a few specks. So these are harder. These are much more one of a kind, and these semi-solids, I work really hard on making them very reproducible, even if they're a recipe. So that's a good point. So mothers and daughters, I was thinking of that, but it could be anything. It could be, that one is a speckle, and it's a speckle it's not unlike this concept. I don't think if I recall, it doesn't have this dark color in it, but it has a lot of these lighter colors. So I think I would choose something lighter. What if that's like wrong yarn base? Maybe too dark. what would, here's what something like that would look in a apricot kind of thing.
Those are 2 different weights.
Yes, I know.
That's okay. That's okay. I just want.
So there are kind of a lot of directions going. Oh, you know what? Even it's 2 different weights though. I want to show that there's actually a tiny little bit of yellow in there. Look, there's kind of it's really hard to see unless you put it next to yellow. But isn't that cool? You put it next to gray and you see the gray, and you put it next to yellow and you see the yellow. I love that. These speckly ones are kind of like they're kind of like an oriental rug in that way. Whatever you put it next to, then you see, it pulls out the embedded color that is its neighbor. Yeah, that's very cool. Anything else, my dear?
No, just more colorful yarns and everything like that.
Okay. I did a good bit of shop updating, but it was mostly focused on the glass aisle. So probably the next thing I'm going to be adding is more fingering. So we'll talk about fingering, I believe, next week. Other than that, I wish everybody lots of health and safety because, oh my goodness, we're having big thunderstorms, fires, a pandemic. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is what I do to get away from the news. I hold on to my yarn and I knit and it calms me down. So I wish everybody lots of relaxation and joy with their yarn.
One last minute question. Do you have any mini skein sets, in those colors?
Oh gosh.
I don't think...
Goodness. That's a good question. But we do have a lot of mini skein sets. But in...
there are probably some colors that are very close to the ones on the table, but I don't think there are any directly.
Exact matches? Yeah, there are a lot of... So, let's see. Here are different... So we talked a lot about green. These are... But it's hard to see them under the plastic. But we showed a lot of green and teals, and there's a set with green and teals. I also, at the tail end, talked about yellow. So there's a set with yellow.
And these are all in fingering weight. We don't have any mini skein packets in any other weight, but that was because of the Ticket to Anywhere shawl.
That's true. That was because of the Ticket to Anywhere shawl. There's one that focuses on gray and has that mail and sword color. Which mail and sword, that's comes from chainmail. That's where that word comes from. Let's see. This one, no, that's that. No, it's a little different. Sort of a combo of, I've got a little pink and yellow going on, but also these are fall colors, kind of olive and mustard mixed in with the pink and the yellow. So yes, these are all, I don't think I got them all out. There's still some that I've missed. Here's another fall color set. But again, I'm getting farther and farther away from exactly what was on the table. But there's another little fall color set for you to zoom in on. But you know what people are doing now with these little mini skein sets, Jenny? They're knitting socks.
I've heard of that before.
Yeah. So actually, this would knit like a set of 3 makes easy peasy makes a pair of socks. So you could you know what? That's another topic we could talk about, mini skeins and socks. Maybe I'll bring that one up too. But like this would make multiple pairs of socks. So you do kind of get a little bang for your buck with these by getting a lot of yarn broken down into little coordinated colors. So that's kind of a good way to experiment. Any other last questions as I bid you all, we realized this was a short one this week, but this was a busy week on the farm. We have just moved our buck in with all of the does that we were going to breed this year, and we had a cat neutered, and she is it's an outdoor cat, but she's inside right now. Oh my gosh, there's a lot, and the kids are starting school, online school, so this was like there were a lot of balls in the air for this week, but it was a good week. Anything else? No? Okay. Hey, you guys, should I put Jenny here, hand me the camera.
I'm in my PJs.
Oh,
But here, I'll wave hi. There you go.
Okay, all right, that's cool. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you next week. Take care.